Hi everybody. Today we are talking about family conflict. Why family caregivers should do something about family members or other people who are harming elderly people in your family. Caregivers have been asking what to do about a family member who is a power of attorney or a guardian who isn't taking their responsibility seriously. Maybe it's an elderly parent who isn't taking care of your other elderly parent. Or a brother or sister who's doing some questionable things with regard to a loved one's money or making care or other decisions that really just don't make sense. Why is this hard? Well, many people are hesitant to confront a family member, or they don't want to get involved in situations of conflict because conflict management is difficult. It can be emotionally exhausting, and why add that onto the list of all the other things that you already have to do? But here's the thing. The people in your family who are doing bad things, possibly abusing or neglecting a spouse. If it's one of your parents, right? One of your parents caring for the other spouse. Or neglecting your parents if it's a sibling who's taking care of your parents and you're not involved all of the time, right? These people really don't want you to do anything, because if you don't, then they win. The problem is, though, that if you are the abused person, or if the abused or neglected person is your mom or dad or somebody else, they're the ones that are harmed. And they're in a position where they probably can't speak up, or they probably can't protect themselves. Think about this. If they could, they probably would, but they can't. And it could be from lifelong habits. So these difficult family members, what do? They wear you down with constant criticism, with control, with maybe verbal blow-ups, aggressive behavior. They isolate your parent or a loved one. They try to shift blame. They create a lot of crazy drama. They create conflict in your family. They want financial control. They keep badgering other people to get what they want. They try to wear people down. They don't want to listen to any other viewpoint. They minimize their bad behavior, and they try to shame you for not helping all of these years, right? So, what can you do to deal with all of this? Stay with me while I offer some background about the causes of elder and abuse and neglect, because the causes and the facts are important to understand, because if you understand the why, then it's easier to understand what you can do. And then I will share some things that you can do if you want to stand up to protect somebody in your family, or even yourself, from family members or people who are doing questionable things. If this is your first time here, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert advocate. I have worked in this industry for 25 years. I help adults and their caregivers work through health, financial, legal aspects of caregiving, including navigating all of these challenging family relationships. I also serve as an expert witness for law firms and clients in matters of elder abuse, guardianship, conservatorship, dementia, Alzheimer's care, care management, and a lot more things. You can learn more about me by scrolling below this video. There's links to my website. You can also schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. Please do just take a second, like this video, follow my channel. Your participation helps other people find their way here. So, what is elder abuse? Because we don't talk about elder abuse. Elder abuse happens in families, and people don't even know that it's happening, right? So it includes physical, sexual, emotional abuse, financial exploitation, your siblings using your parents' money, using their credit cards, asking your parents for money. It includes neglect and self-neglect, specific to older adults and people with disabilities. Elder abuse is a crime. It is a prosecutable crime. However, family members, family caregivers, friends, professionals who work in the healthcare industry, they hesitate to report elder abuse because they're afraid that they don't know what's going to happen, and they don't want the person that they're reporting to ever find out that they said anything. So, Let's start with some categories of elder abuse, and then I can explain what you can do. So this is researched fact. The Adult Maltreatment 2020 report confirms that victims who are in the Adult Protective Services system are in these categories. So self-neglect, which means not taking care of yourself, 65%. It's higher than any other category of elder abuse. Neglect is about 14%, financial exploitation 14%, so those are kind of even. Then we have emotional abuse at about 9% and physical abuse at about 8%. If you're interested in these statistics and all the ones that I'm going to cite, below this video there is a link to an article on my website where all of these references are. So, biggest category of elder abuse, self-neglect, people not taking care of themselves. And so you might think, well, don't we all have a right not to take care of ourselves? Well, we do, except if we have a cognitive issue like Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that, then we really may not know that we're not taking care of ourselves. So, people should report elder abuse, but why don't they? They don't because it's challenging. Physicians, doctors, they are mandatory reporters. They don't want to make reports. They don't want to get people in trouble. People at the bank tellers see all kinds of things happening with people bringing older adults into the bank. Sometimes they're not trained in identifying financial abuse, so they don't say anything, and thousands of dollars end up coming out of an older person's bank account. Bank tellers are mandatory reporters. Any professional working in the healthcare industry, the legal industry, myself, we are mandatory reporters. And I can tell you that over the years I have reported plenty of suspected elder abuse cases. CNAs who work in nursing homes, nurses in hospitals, they're all mandatory reporters. Yet, rarely ever will they report a co-worker they see who is doing something or neglecting a patient. In-home caregivers are mandatory reporters. If you think of this, if mandatory reporters don't want to report, it's no wonder that family members seeing this going on in their families feel the same way. But family members may not recognize signs of abuse. So as I mentioned before, it could be a sibling asking your parents for money and more money and more money, and your parents feel like, oh, I have to give it to them. Or they're using your parents' credit card. Other situations that potentially can result in elder abuse and financial exploitation are family members who live together. So if your sibling lives with your parents and they've never been financially independent, they've relied on your parent all of their lives, and they just can't go off and live, that could result in potential elder abuse and financial exploitation. The same thing if, one of your sibling caregivers moves in with your parents, you move in with your parents move in with another family member. The minute that property and money starts getting mixed up, all kinds of crazy things happen. If people are not very thoughtful about what they're doing, if they're not transparent in the family, if they're not sharing information, the minute somebody starts hiding information, there's probably a problem. And then you have the person who's abused, right? Older adults who are abused by their caregivers or a family member, they don't want to say anything. They don't want to get anybody in trouble. And they may believe that this is just the way it is, right? Some say nothing because they're scared to death of the person who's caring for them, who's probably threatening them, saying, well, if you say anything to, my brothers and sisters, I'm not going to take care of you, or I'm going to harm you. And maybe the person is really threatening them every day. You just don't know. And then we have people in this large category of self-neglectors. People with dementia or Alzheimer's, who may just lack the cognitive ability up here. They don't realize what they're not doing. They don't realize that they didn't bathe yesterday or shower yesterday, that they forgot to eat and they've lost 60 pounds. They don't change their clothing. They don't wash their sheets. They forget to pay their bills. The dog's not fed. When you think about this, it really should not be a surprise to anybody, especially a doctor treating someone with dementia that the potential for self-neglect exists. Yet, we don't talk about it. Then we have this distrust, right? Distrust in government agencies, hospitals, social services, adult protective services, legal agencies, the attorney general and healthcare systems, right? Because let's face it, interactions with them always don't go well. I talk to families all the time in my one-on-one consultations and my meetings who report mixed experiences, good and bad, working with adult protective services, the police, the ombudsman, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Attorney General's office. All these people are trying to do is to get help, and no one helps. They say they can't help. Or sometimes they do, but they don't follow through, and it doesn't kind of work out. And then some family members feel that if they do report, they will be accused of elder abuse. Now, anything can happen, but this is less likely if you have factual information to present about what another person is doing that should be investigated. So why do the numbers keep growing? Why is there more and more elder abuse happening every year and every year? Well, it's because we have an aging population. People over age 65 with chronic illnesses, heart disease, arthritis, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, COPD, bronchitis, liver issues, kidney issues, issues walking and getting around, all of those things, right, cause complications in taking care of oneself. Dementia and Alzheimer's, that can go undiagnosed for years because most people don't want to know that they have it, right? They're not going to go seek a diagnosis. Like, why would I want to know that? Well, you might want to know that so you can plan to avoid elder abuse and neglect. So all these health conditions and aging is going to continue to increase this older adult potential for abuse and neglect. Population statistics. 2023 profile of older Americans. Again, statistics, follow the link below to the article on my website. By 2040, 78.3 million people in the United States are going to be 65 and older. That's more than twice the number in 2000. And the problem is that support from family caregivers is what mainly takes care of older adults. If you're a caregiver, you know this. You're taking care of people in your family. Well, there are going to be fewer family caregivers because people are having less children. And so the support from family caregivers is really a factor that helps older people who have a lot of health issues manage their health issues and stay in their home. Yet, all the crazy family stuff that happens, the family dynamics, the disagreements, children who can't agree on care for their parents, you've got second marriages and you have like two sets of family. All those complications make this caregiving difficult, if not sometimes impossible. A lot of caregivers I know, they just want to quit. They want to be done with it. They don't even know how they got into it. Family caregivers who serve as the primary caregivers for elderly. These are the ones who are going to potentially identify maltreatment, okay? Whether it's from another family member, whether it's from caregivers that you have going into a home. Maybe your loved one lives in an assisted living community and they're not getting appropriate care. Maybe they were in a nursing home and they didn't get appropriate care. It's really, in a sense, the primary caregiver who can notice the most things. And other family members can notice if a primary caregiver isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay? So all this caregiving, it's difficult. You're navigating healthcare, you're trying to find resources, sometimes there's money to pay for care, sometimes there's not money to pay for care. And then, what if you're alone? So there's a category of adults called solo agers. They live alone, they don't have family close to them, they may not have any family, they may just have some friends, but they may find themselves in risky situations that lead to unintentional abuse or self-neglect. People who are emotionally abused don't want to tell other people about it. Look at how many marriages have spousal abuse and nobody's talking, okay? Admitting that you were abused or that you got scammed by something, or you gave money to a charity and they took your $10,000 and you never got it back. That's embarrassing because it kind of like, I should have known better, right? So if you're an older adult, 65 or older, figure out how to take steps to protect yourself from the potential of elder abuse and neglect, especially if any type of memory loss is in your family, or if you have a lot of chronic health issues. You are more likely to be diagnosed with dementia if you have heart disease, if you have diabetes. There's a lot of conditions, circulatory issues that can lead to dementia, right? Then let's talk about dementia caregivers. 70% of dementia caregivers say care coordination is just stressful. 53% say that navigating healthcare is difficult. It's hard. And 66% have difficulty finding services and resources and support. This is stats from the Alzheimer's Association. Again, link below if you want to see the numbers. So, as a result, all these family caregivers taking care of people with dementia can become unintentional abusers because you're tired, you're exhausted, you're burned out. You haven't gotten help from anybody. So what happens? You forget to take your parent to a doctor appointment. You forget to give them medications. You're tired, they fall out of bed, they break something, right? Unintentional, but it's still neglect. So you've got to find help. There are solutions for everything. Many family caregivers who agree to be the caregiver or who accept the agent under medical power of attorney or financial power of attorney find themselves not even knowing what to do, especially when they have a loved one who has dementia who's saying, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You can't make me leave this house. Oh, stressful, right? In these situations, it's so important to learn about your role as power of attorney, what's in that document, what you can do, what you can't do. It's important to learn about guardianship and conservatorship and how to petition if that becomes necessary, and things that you can do to protect yourself. Because sometimes power of attorney agents, guardians, and conservators, they do the wrong thing, right? It happens. There's a lot going on here. My website has a lot of information about power of attorney, guardianship, and conservator. Link to website is below. It's PamelaDWilson.com. So the bottom line is, without support and education and alternatives and solutions, identifying and solving elder abuse is difficult because family members may not even recognize that it's happening, or they don't relate dementia or Alzheimer's to potential self-neglect or financial abuse. And so a lot of times nothing is done until there's a crisis. So what can you do? Well, in any situation, you've got to set the emotions aside. You have to respond unemotionally. Gather the facts. Okay, focus on the facts. And I know this can be hard because caregiving is an emotional situation, but you've got to look at the facts, and when talking to this person who you think is maybe not doing the right thing, practice your responses and know how you're going to respond. You've got to remain steady and balanced and level-headed, because if you go off and you go crazy, they're going to do the same thing, and that's really not going to solve anything. So questions for you. Do you have evidence of financial abuse, of your siblings using your parents' money for their own good, or spending the money irresponsibly, or giving money away, or doing something like that? Or do you know how to get that? Do you even know where your parents' bank accounts are? Do you have evidence of any type of physical abuse or neglect? Are your siblings leaving your parents with dementia at home alone when they're probably not safe? Do they lock them in a bedroom because they think, well, mom and dad will be safe in this bedroom for 3 hours while I'm shopping, right? Do they screen their phone calls? Do they not let your parents talk to you on the phone, or not talk to you without them being present? Are they isolating? Are they threatening, causing any type of physical harm? The more factual information that you have, pictures, videos, phone recordings, text messages, emergency room visits where maybe your parent had a fall and maybe they were pushed. You have to gather every piece of evidence you possibly can. As I mentioned before, elder abuse in families most often occurs when there is a dependent child, one who has never grown up because mom or dad has helped them all of their life, and this child is not sufficient even though they may be 50 or 60 years old. Maybe they're even still living in the basement. They depend on mom and dad for everything. They go to mom and dad with every problem because they can't solve it. Well, in a sense, your parents created this situation, but they created a nightmare for themselves because this is the person who is going to get a hold of their money and try to change wills and powers of attorney and all that kind of stuff to benefit them because they need a livelihood. They need income. They need somewhere to live. They're never going to be able to support themselves. Risky situation. Or other situations. Anytime somebody moves in with mom or dad, could be you, right? Could be your sibling. Maybe your mom and dad moves in with somebody else. At that point, everything can become blurry. So the goal is transparency. Mom and dad are moving in. They're going to have a room. I'm going to charge them rent. There's going to be a contract for rent. I'm paying all the groceries. I'm paying all the utilities. Or if somebody is moving into mom and dad's house, then what is that agreement? Is that caregiver going to get paid? Don't just leave this up to verbal agreements. Put it in writing. Share it with everybody in the family so that there's no conflict. People want to get upset now, let them get upset now, and maybe they'll do more to be the caregiver, right? But don't leave anything to question when it comes to financial matters or money or things that are agreed to as far as properties or stuff like that. If this starts happening in your family, start asking for transparency. Ask to see bank statements. Ask to see financial statements. Make sure that everybody in the family has a copy of those power of attorney documents or wills or trusts. The best situations to avoid elder abuse in families is transparency. Written care agreements that specify everything, that are done by an attorney if possible, that are notarized if possible, that are recorded on video if possible. When this happens, you can avoid a lot of this family conflict and you can avoid ending up in court unnecessarily. I know this because I'm an expert witness for a lot of families who end up in these types of situations in court that really could have been prevented, but were not because parents didn't want to be transparent, or they thought that family members would do the right thing, and it doesn't happen. So you're in this crazy situation. Once you have all the evidence and facts, then you got to figure out your plan and what you're going to do. Are you going to confront the person and say, hey, I see all this going on. I don't think that it's right. Let's all get together and talk about it. Well, probably there's going to be some hesitancy there because if the person's doing things they're not supposed to, they're not going to want anybody to know. And your parents may feel bad, like, telling on your brother or sister. So sometimes the person who's abused doesn't even want to speak up, which is hard. So if you need an investigation, where do you go? Is it your local police department? Is it County Adult Protective Services? Is it the Ombudsman? Is it the Department of Health? The Department of Social Services, your county or district attorney, the Attorney General's office, which is supposed to prosecute elder abuse? Got to do your research. You've got to go to these agencies, ask how they can help you, be persistent, do not give up. If you have to, go to your local representatives, go to your Congress people, make all the noise on earth that you have to, but base it on facts. Because right now, there's a lot of research out there. Again, article below this video. A lot of research on elder abuse and maltreatment. It comes from government funding, right? So from HHS and other agencies. And it usually goes to government organizations who are funded by the government. But it produces some really good research, really interesting research. Some of these statistics I shared with you today. The problem is, that's all it is, it's research. Research that identifies problems is valuable, but it's only valuable to the degree that there are solutions out there that can be implemented or enforced as policy. And I see much less of that going on. All this money for research, it's your taxpayer dollars. It's wasted unless there are policies and procedures that are implemented. A simple one would be, hey, let's require doctors to screen people with dementia and Alzheimer's for self-abuse. Let's require screenings with their caregivers. Let's try to prevent this stuff before it happens, right? And then you do education on that. Doesn't happen. I rarely see a diagnosis of self-abuse in the medical chart of an older person because doctors don't want to get involved, right? And then Family members, I know all the time, they go to the probate system. They're like, hey, we need help filing for guardianship and conservatorship. Well, the courts say, well, hey, we can't give you any legal advice. So how silly is it that the government provides an attorney free of charge for an alleged criminal? But family members who are trying to do the right thing to get guardianship can't get any free advice or an attorney to help them in probate court. It's crazy. We have to start asking as consumers, who does the system really help? In my opinion, the elder abuse system for reporting and helping family members, there's a lot that can be done. It's got to change. But if it's going to change, it's going to have to be the consumer and families who are changing this. The government probably is never going to get there, right? Family members and individuals have the most significant opportunity to stop elder abuse before it happens, to reduce these trends, and to identify solutions for self-abuse and financial exploitation and neglect by realizing that it happens way more often than we think. It might be happening in your family and you may not even realize it. We all need to plan to prevent abuse and neglect because we're all going to age. And it doesn't matter whether we're living in our home, whether we've got caregivers coming into the home, whether we live in a retirement or care community. It happens. And part of stopping it from happening is learning how to advocate with healthcare systems and hospitals and doctors and insurance companies and all of that for needed help and learning about available programs. And I get it. It takes time. There is so much free information on my website that can help you. PamelaDWilson.com. Go there. It's a self-serve website. There's online classes. There are videos. There's podcasts. There's articles. We, consumers and families, we have to advocate for breaking down all of these roadblocks. The probate court systems that says, hey, we can't give you advice, but yet we're going to help this person for free, right? We've got to break down the roadblocks to getting help from federal and state and local government agencies because these are the ones that really are the gatekeepers of this criminal justice system, of the elder abuse system and the social service systems that our tax dollars pay for. We're paying for them to help us. And in many situations, consumers are not getting the help they need. So if you want to learn more about this topic, again, scroll below. There is a link to an article on my website. You can also schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I am a caregiving expert and advocate with over 25 years of experience working in this elder justice system, the caregiving system, healthcare, guardianship, conservatorship, power of attorney. I thank you so much for being here. Please do share this video, follow my channel, comment, even if it's only to say thank you or share your situation. I will respond. Your participation on this video and my YouTube channel help more people find information that they are seeking for. I'll see you all again soon in another video.